Hey, I'm a mechanical engineer, and this is my creepy robot doll. So a while back, like at the beginning of my channel, I made a video about a robot doll, and the idea behind the doll was to motorize the limbs so I could scare people with it. But that was back before I had my fancy transmitter. And so the robot left a lot to be desired. So in today's video, we'll be revisiting the idea and hopefully making something truly terrifying. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So to begin, we're going to need to find some kind of doll. And we're going to need to be large enough to house most, if not all, of our electronics. Also, having posable joints would be nice, and the creepier it is, the better. So I went down to my local thrift store where all dolls go to die, and I spent $3 and bought this one. For some reason, when I was buying the doll, everyone was looking at me super strange. I don't know why. The doll's not that creepy. This doll should be large enough to house all of the electronics. It does have posable joints, however, it is not that scary, but we'll see what we can do about that further down the line. For now, let's go ahead and remove the clothes and get started. Like this. Now we're going to want to turn the doll over onto its stomach and cut a small window into its back, allowing us to gain access to the arm and head joints. Now the reason we did this is so we can gain access to the shoulder and head joints in order to put in servos to motorize them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop out the arms and head and try to figure out the best way to mount the servos. Oh my goodness, I'm Toy Story Sid. After thinking about it for a little while, I've decided the best way to mount the servos is to cut small slots in both the shoulder and neck joints so the servos can just slide right in. But we're going to want the servos to fit in there nice and snugly, so make sure not to cut the holes too large. Like this. And after we cut the slots, we can go ahead and insert the servos and secure them in place with just a little bit of hot glue. Next, I'm going to take the arms and I'm going to cut off the extra plastic so that we're left with nothing but the arms themselves. Then glue two circular gears that came with the servos onto the arms and drill a small hole on the outside of the arm so we can secure the gear to the servo with a screw. Like this. Now onto the head. Just like we did on the arms, we're going to want to mount a small circular gear to the base of the head. Just like that. But now comes the hard part. I want to mount white LEDs into the eyeballs to give it a super creepy, almost demonic glow. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to A, drill a small hole into each eye of the doll. Not that difficult. And then B, drill a small hole in the back of the doll's head so I can actually put in the LEDs. Slightly more difficult. And on top of all that, if at all possible, I'd like to secure the LEDs inside the doll with some hot glue. So let's jump right into it and see what we can do. No, you guys don't have to watch this. And here we are after everything is done. What I ended up doing is cutting a decent sized hole in the back of her head, then very carefully poking through the LEDs and gluing them in place. Now with that being said, the LEDs are not put in there perfectly straight. It turns out her eyeballs actually move around, but they're pretty close. With that, all the parts are pretty much complete and ready to be put together. However, there is one small problem, and that is how to draw attention to the doll. I want to hide my doll on a shelf somewhere so it'll be super spooky when someone finds it. However, since it's hidden on a shelf, it'll take them forever to find it, and since I have to control it, I'll be sitting there all day and it's just a huge mess. So what I've done to solve this problem is build a very simple knocking machine that will serve as the doll's new leg. So all this is a piece of wood that's on a pivot that's in contact with a continuous rotation servo. So when you turn on the servo gear will swing in a circle, push down on the back of the wood, lifting up the front. And then once the servo gear swings out of the path of the wood will drop to the ground, making a knocking noise. It is an extremely simple design, but simple is almost always best. So what I'm going to do is make a 90-degree cut along the hip of the doll and then attach our new robotic knocking device. Just like this. Now if you want, you can slide the foot back on. Just make sure to glue something hard like a piece of metal to the bottom of the foot so you still get the knocking noise. And with that, we can now put on her clothes, attach her arms and head, and then begin to drop in all the electronics. For the servos, we're just going to very simply plug them directly into the receiver, into the ports we want to control them through. Then we'll connect the wires for the LED eyes to my speed controller and plug in the speed controller into the port we want to control that through. I'll then plug in my 11.1 volt 500 milliamp battery, put everything inside the back of the doll, then test it. everything seems to be working quite well, so I'm going to throw some kind of apron on her and then we'll see if we can scare someone.
Me like it.
Okay, they laughed, but trust me, those were laughs of fear. And there you have it, how to build a creepy, demonic robot doll. But hey, thanks so much for you guys watching. I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, please feel free to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And Lord, and I'll see you next Friday.
Thanks for watching, and please feel free to subscribe.